Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Hogarth's Global Astrology. Know your planets, know yourself, or know your nation, know yourself. All right, you will see it is a Sunday. And how many times have you heard me say, well, I don't normally do kind of stuff on Sundays, and here I am again. Yeah. But such is the world and such is the goings on. There is so much happening right now. It is extraordinary. And I've had another one of my dreams. But this is very different. And it's about the archons. Yeah, it's about the archons. And I'll explain in a minute. And actually, someone said here, and thanks so much for your concern as well. Candy says, good evening, Hoagie. I thought talking about about archons and gnostics was taboo. Please be very careful. We love you. You help us all of us in the US stay sane mostly. Thank you. Yeah, you know what? I think you got a good point. But I think things have just reached the stage now where I'm just like, you know what? Screw it. The stakes are too high. We need to have these discussions. And of course, as you know, when the dreams come, they come, and then I've got to go on camera and tell you guys what it's all about. All right, so as you guys come in, so thank you so much for joining me this Sunday. Of course, please be sure to like and subscribe and share and what is it called? What do they call hype and all of that jazz? Yeah. So here we are. I've had another one of my dreams, and as we know, we've got absolute bedlam playing out in the Middle East right now. It's been a week now, isn't it? It's been a week. And you guys will remember, I mean, so much is happening. So if we think of last week, because I had my Friday show yesterday, and remember I was talking about the robe, yeah, the robe of light and all of this stuff and how they want to replicate it and all of these things. So if you've not seen my Friday show, maybe you're catching up, which I had yesterday. Give that a watch. Yeah, give that a watch. In a way, you can see this as the continuation in many ways of the things and themes from my Friday show continued today. Yesterday, though, I did have a wonderful evening. So just to give you a little bit of something different. In fact, I was supposed to post on my YouTube community side, but I was at a wonderful exhibition yesterday at the Victorian Albert Museum, and it was, just so you can see here, yeah, it was the Marie Antoinette exhibition. Let me just see if you can see this here. 1 minute, see if that's gonna focus. Oh, come on, camera, come on. Oh, there we go. Look at that. That's just a little bit of it. You see all of this. Her feet were tiny, by the way, absolutely minuscule. And this was the scandalous necklace, yeah, the scandalous necklace that basically pretty much brought an end to Marie Antoinette. Let me just see here. This is the thing. I did a video of it there, which basically kind of brought Marie Antoinette down. And in July, I'm going to be going to Paris and then Versailles. Yeah, taking someone very special along. They know who they are. Anyway, so that was like my little break, yeah, from the news. And I just want to say to everyone before I get into the detail, these are, as we all know, these are crazy batshit times. And as you know, I've been preaching, haven't I, from my pulpit. I've been saying, oh, hear ye, hear ye. 29th of March, 2025, we're going to see stuff that we've never ever seen before on planet Earth. And oh my God, look all of this. Look what has transpired since Saturn started transiting through sidereal Pisces. Absolute madness. Yeah, it's bonkers. But I had a dream, what was it, this morning? Because so today's date, it is the 8th of March, 2026, and it is currently 4 minutes past 11 p.m. So it's 23:05 now, just 23:05. And I had a dream this morning. I could not get a wink of sleep last night. I could not get a wink of sleep. And as I'm there sort of like tossing and turning, trying to get to sleep, I start having, you know, these dreams. And I'm just like, oh my God, really? I'm like, the archons? Oh, anyway, so what I've done is I've written it out here. I'm going to try and get through it. It's 4 bits of pages, because as you know, I have to get it while it's fresh, and I just write it down. Let's begin, and then we'll break it down as we go along. And then also as well, I'll take in some of your questions as well. We'll do a little bit of tarot and whatnot. But here we go. All right, let's get cooking. So I put here, and I started making these notes at 7:07 a.m. today. Yeah, depending whenever you're reading this. So at 7:07, I started taking the notes because I literally, the dream had just finished. So Sunday, March 8th, and I put here dream. Here we are. This is the dream. And here, for entertainment purposes only, the archons are losing power. This is what the dream was about. And I said, and I've written here, an almighty struggle is emerging among the archons. So if you're probably wondering what the archons are, yeah, the archons are said to be, you know, an energetic race of people, essentially, that really are controlling the dark side of global affairs. Yeah, so for me, it's like when we think of the Epstein class, they're the one who are doing the ritualistic stuff, yeah, without getting too explicit. But we all know what's been happening. The EP files, the PDF files. They're the ones who've been enacting all this ceremonial stuff to serve them. Yeah, those are the kind of basically the dark overlords, and what all of this stuff is about. Yeah, in my opinion, not just my opinion, many people's opinion. Anyway. But they are often referred to as the archons. But I think I also know who they really are as well, and they go by another name. And we're going to talk a little bit about the Anunnaki. Yeah, we're going to talk a bit about that and see how that plays in. And also as well, big shout out as well to those of you who joined me, literally were just with me for Coffee with Hoagie. Much appreciated. We went into the details of some of this, and you know, we had the 6 pence worth exchange between all of us about what's going on and whatnot. Anyway, an almighty struggle is emerging among the archons. They're struggling to control the narrative as they usually do. The new fight is to get humans to, oh yeah, so like this is a dream. So literally it's just verbatim as it came out, and I don't want you to be too disturbed because we're going to talk about the positives as well. So stay tuned. But this is how it came out. The new fight is to get humans to drop a nuclear bomb on Iran. I hope this does not happen, but let me tell you, when you see the batshit douchebaggery that is going on, trust me, if they get desperate enough, they may try it. I hope that timeline has moved on now, but you never know. But this is what has been shown energetically, what the archons are trying to get their human servants to do. Yeah. Anyway, however, there is a fight back from humanity because some of the key human decision makers they could usually rely on are resisting those instructions. Yeah. So do you see what I'm saying here? Like they all serve, you know, the archons, yeah, and they dictate and they give them worldly temporal power and money and all of this kind of stuff. But when you think about it, when it comes to, you know, nuclear, that has many ramifications. Yeah. Anyway, so there's pushback. Yeah, there's actual pushback. They're not just blindly obeying. So the human decision makers they could usually rely on are resisting those instructions. This is supposed to be they do not want to cause that much destruction. Yeah, the ones that are pushing back. They want to cause a lot of destruction, but maybe not quite that much. Why? Some archons want humanity destroyed before the mass awakening underway continues beyond their control. Yeah, so remember, I'm just relaying that, like the energy of what I was seeing. Like it was like being a fly on the wall. They couldn't see me, and I could see like this writhing, fighting, arguing, you know, like, you know, with each other about, well, we want this, oh no, they should all be destroyed. And then other ones are like, well, maybe not, you know, there's a fight, there's disagreement. Yeah, there's disagreement. So yeah, so some archons want humanity destroyed before the mass awakening underway. So we're going through it now, right? Humanity is starting to wake up. But do you remember how I said Jupiter, planet Jupiter, the planet of wisdom, knowledge, enlightenment, is going to become exalted when? On the 1st of June. But I said, as he gets closer, that energy of enlightenment will build and build and build more in humanity and the whole world. Yeah. And you remember as well what I said on the 1st of June, but even like as May goes along, do you remember I said as closer as Jupiter gets to his exaltation point, it's going to affect Trump's health more and more. Have you seen him recently? Yeah, it's getting worse. It's getting even more doolally. Imagine what he's going to be like near 1st of June. Anyway, so yeah, mass awakening underway continues beyond their control. Other archons are fighting because if humanity is destroyed, then they lose their energy source altogether. Yeah, so think about it. There's this feeding, yeah. There's this feeding off this energy, this misery. It's like for them, it's like all sorts of different wounds and energies are like delectable treats for them. It's like a form of energetic nourishment. You know, in those higher vibrations, obviously not at the vibration of love, but the vibrations that are just, you know, out of our visible range. Yeah. Out of our invisible range, more to do with the etheric and energy bodies, basically. That's more of their domain, particularly when they're feeding. So when you're feeling down, when you're feeling depressed, when you know, when there's negativity in the heart and stuff, especially, they love all of that, and this is why they're trying so hard to keep humanity there. But humanity is fighting back, yeah, because people starting to wake up. Especially with the PDF files, yeah, that have been, as you've seen, going around. Anyway, so of course, if they destroy humanity, then they lose their energy source altogether. However, there are also dragons, good ones. Yeah, this is what I was seeing, and obviously, you know, I've got a couple of dragons. You know what they're called, Calcifer and Aurora. Yeah, there are so. It's true, there are reptilian races and stuff, but there's bad ones, but there's neutral ones, and there's good ones. But then you also have things like dragons as well, which are like interstellar beings, and some of those can be really good as well. So it's not a one size fits all. It's not a one size fits all with this scenario, yeah. Just like with human beings. In the extraterrestrial world, in the realms beyond, there's huge variety. Yeah, huge variety. Just like you have fairies and you have, like, you know, ogres or, you know, whatnot. A lot of that stuff, what we learn about in fairy tales, is just existing on another vibration. Anyway, I digress. It's always whenever I'm doing a show that I get a little bit of anyway. However, there are also dragons, good ones, that are fighting for human consciousness. Yeah. What I'll refer to as the dragons of inspiration. I forgot I wrote that. Yeah. So there are the dragons of inspiration, and completely different to archons, who are an enslaver race and energy. Yeah. Some of the archons, or, you know, are basically they want to enslave. It's all about maintaining an enslavement of humanity. And I've written here, there is something incredibly important about a ziggurat in Iraq. Yeah, this is the dream. And there's also something very important within the story of the Epic of Gilgamesh. And you might be thinking, oh my God, Hoagie, what are you talking about? The Epic of Gilgamesh? Put your hand up in the comments if you've heard of the Epic of Gilgamesh. So I was thinking, like, what on earth? Like, so that's what I did today. I got an audio book and a audio podcast, and I listened to the discovery of the ancient tablets of the Sumerian tablets. Yeah, it was all written in cuneiform. Sumeria is one of the earliest civilizations in terms of documented with writing and stuff. But of course, there've been multiple civilizations of man. Yeah, but in terms of our paradigm and construct, Sumeria is one of the oldest, and Sumeria is now modern day Iraq. Yeah. So do you remember here I said that there's a ziggurat in Iraq? In fact, let me just see if I can actually just search one up. I was supposed to do that, but I was busy with the chat. Let me just put here ziggurat. Oh yeah, there you go. And it's come up straight away. It's come up straight away. Now, here, I'm going to share this with you. And you know what came up first? So first of all, so look, I put here, there's something incredibly important about a ziggurat in Iraq. But guess what's come up first? A ziggurat in Iran, which is what my dream was about. And I'm just going to share my screen with you. I wasn't even expecting this. And then here, just so you can see what a ziggurat is. Yeah. So you can see that, yeah. This is a ziggurat. Yeah. So this is ziggurat of Choga Zanbil. Yeah. Do you see all these different things? Yeah, this is what I was seeing in my mind's eye. Yeah. Look at that thing. It's an immense structure. You can't really quite, well, that one's a bit more pyramid-like, but you can see it's like a huge raised platform. And let's see if there's a bit of discussion about what a ziggurat, here we are. So this one is called Choga Zanbil. Yeah. So Choga Zanbil is an ancient Elamite complex in the Khuzestan province of Iran. It is one of the few existing ziggurats outside of Mesopotamia. Yeah. So you can see here, there's this stuff here. And let's see if there is one in Iraq. Let's see if there's one in Iraq. Iraq. Ziggurat, Iraq. There you can see. Great ziggurat of Yeah. Great ziggurat of So you can see there's one. A great ziggurat of is a Neo-Sumerian ziggurat in what was the city of near Naziria in present day Dekar province, Iraq. So look, I should have done that beforehand. Yeah, but I was so busy today just absorbing everything. So we can see ziggurats are a thing, and there's ziggurats in Iraq and Iran. This is what I was dreaming about. Yeah. And then I was being told about the Epic of Gilgamesh, and I'm like, what? I mean, and I've heard of it, but this is the first time that I actually kind of like dug in. Let me just stop share there. It's the first time I've kind of like dug in and really started to absorb myself into the story. Anyway, so you can see that's the evidence. I'm just showing you this is what my dream was about. And I started dreaming about these ziggurats, yeah, and these archons. And I'm like, yeah, there's a lot more going on with the story. Anyway, so I'll carry on. Forgive me as I go backwards and forwards a little bit, but I just want to make sure I'm being absolutely clear with you all, because this is quite, I know it's a bit out there, but at least you can see what a ziggurat is. Yeah, I'm not just making this stuff up. Anyway, there is something incredibly important about a ziggurat in Iraq. So this must be the one in without me realizing it. And there's also something very important within the story of the Epic of Gilgamesh for humanity, but I'm not sure what it is yet. So this is why I had to go and investigate. There is either the remnant. Now listen to this. Here we go. There's either the remnants or intact. I'm going to say this for entertainment purposes only. There is either the remnants or intact of a Stargate or a portal within the ziggurat of Iraq, or possibly within Iran itself. So now you can see there's ziggurats in Iran and Iraq. Yeah, I think there's potentially something there in both. Remember, this is in my dream. You know, I'll go into that psychic realm and all of that kind of stuff. And they may also be some of the calculation, I think I put here, behind attacking Iran in the first place. And this is what I put. I've forgotten this actually. Here, this is why it's good to write this stuff down. And I put here high level adepts. Yeah, so these are people who are very spiritual and can see beyond the veil and all of this stuff. It's like a high level of spiritual esoteric knowledge. Yeah, so high level adepts, clerics, and their top secret officials know this. Yeah, so there's something that I think the Iraqis know and the Iranians know. Maybe not everyone has the full story, but on that elite level, they know about what these ziggurats and what they mean. Yeah, and they're very, very important. Very important. That was what was getting in the dream. Anyway, top secret officials know and will defend to the death to protect. This is something the wider world does not know and has been protected for thousands of years. Yeah. So, and let me just see here. And let me just read this bit here. There is something too connected with Hajj. So you know you've got the like they say every good Muslim should go on Hajj, and you go to Mecca, and you know everyone goes around the black box. Yeah, do you know the one? Let me just put that up because I never want to assume that everyone knows what I'm talking about. So let's get up another tab here, and let's do Hajj black cloth. All right, so I think so just in case you're not sure, this is also what showed up in my dream. And you guys help me in the comments as well if this is joining some dots for you as well. So if we put here, so you can see here now, of course, this is famous. Yeah. So this is here. This is Hajj. So if you are of the Muslim faith, yeah, if you're of the Muslim faith, then at least once in your lifetime you should try to go to Hajj. Yeah, and this, from what I understand, I think is in Mecca. Yeah, the Kaaba black stone, a holy stone from outer. Oh, right. Okay. All right. So, oh my God, this is remarkable. All right, I didn't know it was going to be described as that. Listen to this, yeah? So there is something too connected with Hajj within the black box that devotees circle around. This is before I knew what I just read here. It's like a powerful piece of stone or meteorite or some kind of object. There's something very, very powerful inside that thing. This is very important too, yeah? The knowledge of this is also protected by high adepts, so protected that many do not know what it is, to the extent that false ideas of what it is are allowed to persist, because that better protects the truth. It's something significant to the human story, particularly the last 2,000 years or so. Yeah, so in the dream, this is what I think. Yeah, this is what I think is potentially in the ziggurats. And you heard me mention, have you guys seen the film called Stargate? Have you guys seen the film called Stargate? It was this film in the 90s. I remember just being absolutely enraptured by it. And I think it was talking about ancient Egypt and stuff. But basically, it was this ancient thing. Once you turned it on, it span. I'd like to show you a video clip, but then it would just demonetize the video. And basically, it was these interdimensional portal things. Yeah. I think that, or either intact or remnants of such things are in those ziggurats. And I think whoever has control of those, because these are interdimensional portals, yeah? So like, for example, you may have heard me say, but just in case I haven't said it before, when I've been on my adventures, you know, when I leave my body and I'm dreaming or what have you, and we can all do this. I mean, obviously, everyone calls it astral projection, and don't think I'm astral projecting every night, because I'm not. But I mean, I have my moments, yeah? I have my moments. And one of the things that I was taught is that obviously space is so vast. Yeah, space is so vast. Even if you have a light body and you can travel at the speed of light, if you want to get from one star system to another, you don't just go in a straight line, yeah, because it takes light years, yeah. So a light year is how far light can travel in one calendar year. First of all, when you get close to the speed of light, time bends and changes and what have you. What I was shown is that you bend space, yeah, you bend space, you get that star system or planetary system, and you focus. This is what I've been shown, and forgive me if this just sounds really bonkers, but this is what I show, like how they actually do it. And what you do is you focus energy on a certain point and you bend that space and you go, doop. Yep. So instead of going like this in a light year, you go like that, and you're there in 10 minutes or less. Yeah, something like that. So you bend space. I think in these ziggurats, what I've shown in the dream, they have like, and it's like ancient technology, but it's technology that is way, way, way more advanced than what we've got now. And I'm going to say word on the street, and I hope this isn't going to be too controversial, but anyway, for entertainment purposes only, I can't remember it, but like, do you guys remember the invasion of Iraq? Yeah. And I remember watching it on TV, and remember it's famously, you know, the whole statue being pulled down and stuff like that. But do you guys remember the first place that was bombed? One of the first places that was bombed. Yeah. I'm going to get this up for you, and this might jog a few memories. Yeah. So let's just put here, history, museum bombed by. Let me just see. I'm see if it's going to come up. What's this? Not interested. There we are. Oh yeah, that was it. That was it. Yes, here. All right, here we are. All right, so I'm going to share my screen again. So what I'm going to share here with you is the museum in Iraq, yeah, this historical museum. So stay with me on this, yeah, stay with me on this, and I think it's connected with my dream. So here, this is the, and look, you can see, look, the footage here, yeah, where I don't think it was bombed directly, but it was, and look here, you see, look, this is the inside of it. It was all ransacked and all of this kind of stuff. And then you've got these, you know, these wonderful objects here. Anyway, and then here it says here, the Iraq Museum, National Museum of Iraq in Baghdad, was not directly destroyed by American bombing, but it was severely looted and vandalized immediately following the US invasion of Iraq in April 2003. God, remember that? While the US troops were in control of the city, the failure of American forces to protect the museum, despite warnings, resulted in the loss of thousands of artifacts. Yeah, context. As American troops entered Baghdad, April 9th to 10th, 2003, the museum was left unsecured, leading to roughly 36 to 48 hours of looting. Extent of damage. While initial reports suggested over 170,000 items were stolen, later investigation indicated approximately 15,000 items were missing, including invaluable Mesopotamian, Abbasid, and Persian artifacts. Yeah. US response. US tanks were briefly stationed at the entrance in April 10th, but left, allowing the looting to continue, with officials later citing that they had no orders to protect the building. Think about it. No orders to protect the building. Yeah. So they wanted what? The looting. Who was stealing what? Anyway, recovery efforts. In the years following, thousands of items were recovered, including 17,000 artifacts returned by the US in 2021. So it took a good mileage. Pre-war precautions. Many of the most valuable items had been hidden in secret, secure vaults before the invasion which saved them from looting. But I'm going to tell you something interesting. Yeah. Oh, wow. There's over 1,000 of you now. So there you can see the context. So you can see, look, I'm not making this up. Not that you would accuse me of that. Ziggurats are real. I've been dreaming about ziggurats, and I've been told, right, there's these Stargate things in there. There is some kind of special stone inside, yeah, where Hajj, yeah. And we do know that it was allowed for the Iraq Museum to be looted. Why wasn't it protected? Yeah. For entertainment purposes only. It is said that a certain Saddam Hussein made threats. I can't remember where I heard this source. Forgive me for not having the reference to it, and I'm sure it's been long taken down off the internet. But apparently, before the invasion, because remember, it's supposed to be the Saudis, yeah, that did September the 11th. Remember, like Twin Tower, all of that, yeah, supposed to be Saudi. And yet Iraq gets invaded. Yeah. So let's just like try and square that circle for a start. And I know I'm digging up over old coals here, but I have to, you know, when I get these dreams, I have to talk about them because it's for a reason. It's guidance. Anyway, apparently Saddam has said, if you don't leave my country, I'm going to unleash or activate some kind of ancient kind of knowledge or tech that is just going to finish you guys off. Yeah. Allegedly. And do you remember when they started talking about the weapons of mass destruction and all of this stuff? And those weapons of mass destruction were never found. But maybe they were talking about something else. Yeah. That place was not protected. The Iraq Museum was famous for its ancient artifacts. And they didn't bomb it directly, but the bombs fell nearby. Yeah. Enough to blow open a few doors and allow things to be taken out willy-nilly. Now, if you think in the massive bombing and confusion and then statues being taken down and then eventually, you know, Saddam being found in some drain or gutter and all the hullabaloo and hullabala, which of course we've seen transpire. And obviously the Iraq war was a major warning, and everyone's been saying, well, even our UK Prime Minister saying, well, we remember Iraq, we don't want to do that again. Remember, then it was Iraq, then it was Afghanistan, and so on and so forth. And yet here we are again. But this time it's Iran. What is it that they want? Or they're trying to stop? Or they don't want people to know? What is so precious? Because of course we know that a lot of this is because of the PDF files, yeah. And basically, at this stage, unfortunately, I don't mean this to be rude to particularly my American voters and particularly the ones that didn't vote for this. But the truth is that at this current stage in this iteration of politics, the whole of the continent of the America, USA, North America, not of course including the South America, Central America, and of course, North America also includes Mexico and Canada. The USA, as we referred to, yet the 50 states are essentially a vassal state to you know where, yeah? That little place in the Middle East, yeah? With a certain Netanyahu. Why has it been his express wish for 40 years? Remember, he said, I have wanted this for 40 years. Maybe he knows something that we don't know. And this isn't just about as well, like wider Israel, which is also part of the plan, but it's very, very much specific. Part of that is to encompass Iraq and Iran is part of it. And I'm dreaming about these ziggurats. And then it's just reminding me, I'm like, ah, yes, I remember. I remember at the time when this was all happening, I thought, how strange. What is it that if they're going to war with Saddam, what could they possibly want with that old museum? Yeah, because I've been interested in artifacts and all this kind of stuff from when I was a kid. I was like, what's that all about? I think there are ancient forms of technology which are kept quite rightly under lock and key, which only certain persons who are high adepts or very, very knowledgeable about these things are allowed to know about. And I can't help but think that these, let's say the PDF, the Epstein class, yeah, in their colonization, rampaging, murder and pillage, who are saying that this is a holy war, in effect, trying to induce the return of Christ, they say. But we know everything they talk about is a lie, and it's an inversion. It's an inversion of the truth. Christ was love and peace. And he wasn't part of all of this rich billionaire BS that we're inflicted, yeah, having inflicted upon us. We all know this. If you are saying that you are a person of Christ, there's no way that you could just willy-nilly invade another country and completely bomb it, yeah? Think about it, yeah? That's not Christ-like at all. And you certainly wouldn't be bombing. The first thing they bombed was what? Those schoolgirls. Do you remember? Was 186 of them dead? How is that a legitimate target? No, maybe they're trying to induce something else or someone else that maybe needs to be kind of called through, maybe a portal, so they can return again. Yeah, I'm thinking this through now as I'm writing this, because these notes is solidifying in my mind, and it's blending with the conversations that I just had with the Coffee with Hoagie just before this. And I'm like, yeah, if there's a bit of ancient technology that is a Stargate that can bend space so a certain someone can return, but it's not Christ, but you have to dress it up in that way, particularly and get your generals, yeah, and your evangelical crazy nutbaggeries, yeah, to go along with it, when those in the know of the know what this is really about, and they're like, let's dress it up as Jesus, yeah, because he's famous, you know, we can use him. Let's exploit that name, when really what we want is someone else. And in order to do that, we need to set the energy. We need to get the energies right. Right, as much murder and pillage and blah, blah, blah. And we're just diving in there. And they just couldn't wait, could they? They couldn't wait. But now, of course, they're getting their butts kicked. Yeah. Yes, it's very, very, very difficult for Iran. We know this. But we know America is also being humiliated at the moment as well, with this stiff pushback. And of course, you notice that the rest of the world is, you know, Europe is kind of like, don't know, Jack. Yeah, the Kurds are like, no, you exploited us before. Yeah, why are they trying to induce this? Who is it or what is it that they want back? That's probably why I'm dreaming about the Ziggurats, because there's something in there that they need in order for someone to return. And I don't think it's Jesus. Yeah. Anyway, that's all just come out like that. Anyway, so let's just put here, where was I? It's because the better protects the truth. So in a way, I've kind of answered my own questions here, but I'm going to read through my notes just in case it triggers off something else. Anyway, I put here, the archons are not in agreement. Dropping the bomb on Iran would satisfy many of the archons' bloodlust, yeah, because that's what they have, bloodlust, but also destroy any last legitimacy of the power systems of exploitation they have manipulated, yeah, over hundreds of years, yeah, and certainly decades, yeah. However, losing the fight with Iran via the humans that serve them will so massively shift the timeline of humanity to the positive, they could lose power entirely via their devotees that serve them. Yeah. This is why they are what? Up in the ante, up in the ante, up in. Now we're going to put troops on the ground. Oh, maybe we might drop a bomb or whatever. Why? Yeah, they have to keep it up, because what they're wanting to do, they want to depress humanity. They want us to give up. They want us to lose our divinity. Yeah, that's what they want. Yeah, let me hold on to my obsidian in case one of those douchebags, tries something. Helps avert the evil eye, So think about it. If they take this too far, then it risks ending the human project, and therefore they've got no harvest. Yeah. So it's like killing all your cows. Yeah. You don't have any milk. You won't have any beef. You won't have any cheese. However, if they fail, which is currently what is happening, then their whole construct of lies, deception, all of their crimes, as we've seen in the Epstein files, and remember, there's still half of it is still unpublished. There's still a whole 3 million other files, which is full of the most unspeakables, by the way. Yeah. So now they're in a bit of a quandary. Yeah. So they have to accelerate things, and they're bombing, hoping that Iran is just going to fall, but they're not. Because what we need to remember is Iran is an ancient culture, just like China is an ancient culture. And the people have memory. They know who they are. Persian culture, I mean, obviously, I'm not going to be speaking up for the Ayatollah or whatever. We know there's been horrible things that have happened. But let me tell you, Persians know who they are. They know their history. They know that they are an ancient culture. They used to be an empire themselves. They're one of what? The main cradles of civilization before the Greeks and all that. The Epic of Gilgamesh predates the Bible. It predates the Iliad and the Odyssey and all of this stuff. In terms of what we understand as the birthing of civilization in this iteration of humanity after, the flood, the deluge, that's where we get that main story from, in terms of our iteration in this cycle of humanity, in the various yuga cycles, that we're in. And this period of time is to do with the Younger Dryas. If you're not familiar with the Younger Dryas was about 11,500 years ago, where basically the Earth rapidly cooled, and we went into a mini ice age that lasted for about 1,300 years or so. So it was like we had gone through the ice age, it was warming up, and then something happened, could be comet impact or the like, what have you, but the weather changed, froze up again, and then it melted. And a lot of that as well is where we get a lot of our stories, of the deluge, of the flood. That is a gross simplification. I think there have been many floods, and there's a collective memory of different types of floods. And I think they went to different levels, kind of getting rid of ancient civilizations. So when you think of like Lemuria, for example, Mu, you've got Mu, then Lemuria, then of course Atlantis, it's like each deluge covered another layer. Anyway, let me carry on. Forgive me, I hope this isn't too much. I hope that's making sense what I'm saying to you. Anyway, so if they lose, so if the archons lose, because the Epstein class feed the archons, basically, or worship the archons, it will so massively shift the timeline of humanity to the positive, they could lose power entirely via their devotees that serve them, which is the douche, the nutbags, the psychopaths doing all of this shit. Anyway, and what I put here, a new financial system will emerge, but they are not sure they will be able to control its new power brokers as much as the current ones. So we're also in a system as well where the financial system is changing, obviously. The dollar is going to be tanking. Japan had to sell, what is it, 1.2 trillion dollars of American debt the other day to raise funds so they can buy oil, because of course Iran has closed what? The Strait of Hormuz, where 20% of the world's global oil goes through. Do you see the ramifications? Let me just double check that. Let me just make sure I'm talking facts to you. Let me just see here. Let me just put here, make sure I'm giving you right stuff. Japan sells a US bond. Yeah, look at that. It's come up straight away. Let's just see. Oh, look, here we go. Look, I'll just share the screen with you, just so you can see, giving you up-to-date current stuff, because I never just want to seem like I'm just making this stuff up, because I'm not. So here you can just see here in this, look, Forbes, yeah, what the Japanese bond crisis could mean for the US. So if you look here, dollar collapse. Look, 2 days ago, Japan to dump 1.2 trillion in US treasuries. Yeah. So, and this is like, this is from January. Let's see if there's one more recent March. Anyway. So yeah, Japanese bond situation is simple. Yeah. Japanese investors plowed into US Treasury bills. This made them the largest holder of US Treasuries with 1.2 trillion. Yeah. Anyway, you can see here, and this is from January 29th, 2026. That particular article, but we can see this is one here just from 2 days ago. Yeah, which is a YouTube video. So why am I sharing this stuff? Everything is connected. Yeah, this is super high stakes. We know that they're as dumb as rocks. Yeah, we know that this is an illegal war. We know that this is a ridiculous war. So why are they doing it? It's because there's something much higher at stake beyond the obvious, which they cannot talk about. Yeah, this is why Trump and Pete Hegseth and all of this stuff, they can barely answer the questions. Marco Rubio, they can barely answer the, because what they're going to say, oh yes, where this is basically a war of the evil, of fight between good and evil, and we're doing this because basically we want to serve our Lord and Master, but we're going to pretend that it's Christ to justify what it is that we're doing. We're really, we're trying to get hold of some ancient devices to bring through our Dark Lord. Yeah, they can hardly say that, can they? For entertainment purposes only. Anyway. A new financial system will emerge, but they are not sure they will be able to control it. Its new power brokers as much as the current ones. The Chinese, for example, I've put here, have a very positive connection with the dragons of inspiration. Yeah, let's not forget the Chinese culture has very positive associations with the dragon, which is seen as what? An auspicious animal. For those of you who have been with me a long time, do you remember my dragon dream of China? Do you remember that dream? Oh my God. And then what transpired after that, where basically in the dream, long story short, for those that know it, I was flying on my dragon Aurora. There was this huge dragon flying over China, which I could see was in chains, in bondage, and I basically freed it. Yeah, in the dream. At that time, China was still under severe restrictions due to COVID. And I think it was the next day or a day or two maximum after that, they dropped all of the restrictions, and one of their great generals dropped dead. Yeah. Anyway, like I said, I could not take any responsibility at the time for that dream. Go back and look at it in my archive. Look, if you look up Dragon Dream of China, yeah, you'll see. But this was years ago. Anyway. The archons do not like this, yeah, not being in full control. This is likely why the Chinese have made such advances with e-vehicles like BYD. Yeah, we know this. Yeah, like the whole world knows this. If you don't know about BYD now, just have a look. They do the best e-vehicles. You would have seen me talk about it on one of my shows, which of course do not pollute, which is upon the cusp of global dominance, but severely undermines the pollution of Gaia, which they like because it maintains a rich harvest of suffering. Yeah, that was in the dream. This is, if you think about it, it starts making sense. Why is there such an embargo in the United States against the BYD cars, which run on what? Electricity, which means what? They don't pollute, which means you have what? Less people dying of what? Things like asthma and respiratory diseases. You don't have all of that lead and mercury and all the horrible fumes, yeah? Because if everyone's driving on electric, oh, guess what? No emissions. Yeah, you still have the power stations. You still have to use nuclear, gas, solar power, wind, water. But that is much different when you've got one power station somewhere in some far distant off place and all the cars are running on electricity. What does that mean? It starts to what? Save the planet. One of the big things, if you remember, cast your mind back, yeah, to the pandemic times, yeah, which was dreadful for so many people. Also for many people, it was a life-changing event that turned around their life. But do you remember one of the main things that happened in the lockdown was that the smog in China cleared? Do you remember that? I remember that. And so imagine, yeah, China, which is much in connection with what? The dragons of inspiration, as I was shown in the dream. Yeah, this is one of the reasons why they're so innovative. Yes, of course, we know that to take intellectual property and theft and stealing, blah, blah. Everyone does it. Everyone does it. But they just take it to the next level. Yeah. So just in case we're not sure, let's just look at, in case you've not seen, let's just do here, BYD cars. Let's just look at this up here. Let's do images. All right, so I'm just going to share my screen for you. Forgive me if you've seen this before, but just in case you're new, because many of you are new, and thank you so much as well, and welcome to all my new subscribers. I hope you're enjoying the content. Huh? Pretty juicy, yeah? Anyway, let's go. Even if I do say so myself. Oh, bless. All right, look. These are the BYD cars, yeah? Do you see them in all of their different glory? Apparently, they've got even better ones in China. By the way, these BYD cars absolutely kick the butt of Tesla. Doesn't even come close. These cars, apparently, because they're so ahead with the battery technology, apparently you can plug in your BYD card, you get a full charge in 5 minutes. And it can run for 200 miles on that charge. If not even more. Yeah, look at this glorious stuff. Yeah, this is why that, you know, that absolute lunatic, yeah, from South Africa who likes to do his Zig Heil salutes and stuff. This is why he's pretty much giving up on Tesla. Yeah, this is what's coming into Canada. Yeah, you remember the little deal, well, not so little deal that Mark Carney, yeah, did with China to get the e-vehicles in to slap the face of Tesla and the whatever is e-vehicle in America. Do you think they can compete with this, which is much more slick and much cheaper? Yeah. This is why, this is part of what the embargo is about. Yeah, this is part of what the embargo is about. Why? What is this embargo about? Because if you think about it, if China has the ability, oh wow, there's 1,300 of you here right now. Think about it. China's population is what, 1.4 billion, yeah, with India slightly ahead. I've got friends of mine I play tennis with who are Chinese and go regularly backwards and forwards to China, and they tell me what it's like, and whatever you're being shown in the West is a pile of BS. The skies are now clear. And they've got these cars coming out of their ears and they can supply the whole world. Imagine what that would do for Gaia and human health in general if the whole world was running on electric cars. They say that the protections, yeah, are to protect the American automotive industry. But is that really true? Yeah, I think it's true to an extent, because obviously these are companies that lobby the government. But think of the health benefits. Think of the health benefits when we're not all breathing in all of this toxic pollution. Think of how all the people that get all the cancers and all the stuff, all the asthma, and think of all that medicine, so-called medicine that you can sell those people. It starts to become a big industry, isn't it? Because think about it. Healthy people don't go to the hospital very much. And in America, that, as you don't need me to tell you, and of course, and I'm not poo-pooing whatever. It's just facts, isn't it? What's one of the things that Duck L'Orange did coming in? They put the health premiums up, yeah, because they want everyone sick, because it makes what? Money. But they're not just feeding off the money, they're also feeding off the misery. Yeah. Arit, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. Anyway, let me carry on. I can barely get through my all these tangents, but do you see it all starts to make sense, doesn't it? Anyway, this is why they have sponsored so many climate change deniers. Oh yeah, there's that as well. So remember as well, if you think the evangelical, remember I was talking about the three cults. Yeah, obviously the financial system is the biggest one of all, but I said what, the evangelicals, yeah, the APAC lot, and then of course the tech bro lot. And the tech bro lot are put one foot on each horse, and they're riding that, hoping that these two will destroy each other, and then they can bring in their technocracy and all of the rubbish that they want to inflict on humanity. That's their plan anyway. Anyway, where was I? So that's why they sponsored so many climate change deniers. Yeah, the natural disasters caused by climate change provide great harvests of suffering. Yeah, think like when your house is flooded, yeah, or your town or whatever is burnt down, yeah, or you got earthquakes or whatnot. You're going to be what? Miserable, yeah? Yeah, delectable for them. Yeah, that's food. Anyway, and does a greater deal to, so the climate change provides a harvest for suffering. It does a great deal to lower the collective vibration of humanity, because it impacts so many lives and makes even those not directly affected fearful. Yeah, because even if you're not impacted, you worried it could happen to you, especially the young. They need this to continue, especially as newer generations coming to Earth either have very little or no karma. Yeah, this was what was also coming to me in the dream at all. Therefore, they're more programmable into the transhumanism of AI integration, which is what I've been talking about, which is one of their ultimate goals. And I've got to tell you about the Archon thing, because they either had little experience of human lives or none at all. So getting them to integrate their bodies with technology is easier, yeah? Because if it's your first human body, yeah, it's new to you. You don't have a residual memory of a new body. So remember, the light is trying to work by bringing in these very high-level pure souls, yeah, who don't have any karma. But when you don't have any karma, you don't also have any memory either. Yeah, because you've not been through lifetimes of persecution, this, that, and the other, like most of us here watching. We've probably been burnt on the stake at least 2 or 3 times, you know, in our lifetimes. But if you're new and you've got no karma, you don't know that. Yeah, you're naive. Yeah. Anyway, however, they're also more energetically aware of the dangers of climate change, because they're more sensitive to the energies of Gaia and less likely to behave in ways that damage her and her ascension. So if you notice, a lot of young people are very much what? If you think Greta Thunberg and all these people are what? Anti, you know, they're trying to work with Gaia and be more aware, do their yoga, spirituality, yeah, which is what? Raising up the vibration. They have a lot of empathy and are more likely to be woke, which is why so many of the, I put here, the apostates they use have renounced the sanctity of the human soul and are so anti-woke. Yeah, so remember, there's all this anti-woke. Have you noticed there's all this anti-woke culture? Oh, that's woke, that's woke. Who's sowing that? Woke is basically having awareness and empathy, and that's supposed to be a bad thing. Yeah. Do you think if you're feeding off negative energy, then woke is your enemy? Yeah. You can't have, they can't feed off the good vibrations. What they need, the low ones. So they get their minions to go out and go, oh yeah, woke. Yeah. Starts to make sense, doesn't it? Anyway. And say that empathy is weakness. Yeah. Anyway, however, I'll just keep on going. However, as the anti-woke youth, especially young males, which they've programmed the most, by the way, suffer economically, emotionally, and physically, they're realizing their error and starting to criticize the narrative sold to them. Yeah. So you notice all the bros on the podcast, they're like, what's this? Didn't vote for this. No, it's Marjorie Taylor Greene cussing out. Yeah. Tucker Carlson cussing out Trump. Do you see? They can't control that narrative, yeah, and that they're not being fed. Anyway, to then the suffering induced by those that control the Epstein class is so extreme that it is waking up the very people they wish to manipulate and control. Some want to pull back and preserve what is left of their illusions. Other archons wish to plow forward and destroy as much as they can in the hopes that humanity itself will surrender to their will, or surrender to their will for peace. Yeah, so giving up freedoms to have peace, or give up entirely. Yeah, let me just finish off the last bit and then I'll make my final points. However, many more people are waking up and they cannot control the planets and their movements, alignments and energies. They cannot control either the yuga cycles, yeah, or the progression of the sun through the galaxy. So, you know, here, you guys have seen this before, yeah? This is the cycle of the yugas, cycles of human consciousness and all of this kind of stuff. Over here, I've put the Epic of Gilgamesh, yeah, which is also there as well with things. Dwarka city, which apparently sank when Krishna left. This is on the Arabian Sea, and it's near modern Gujarat. Prime Minister Modi was just there the other day. Underwater city, all of this stuff is all coming out. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting bouncing around a little bit. Let me just finish off. Yes, so the astrology works, but they want to try and use it for a more negative end, but they're trying their best. Anyway, all they can do is manipulate the narrative to get humanity to attune to the lowest vibration of the archetypes of the planets who are above their control. Yeah, because you've got the light and shadow, or shadow and light expression of the planets. Anyway, I put here, this is one of the main reasons why some religions have viewed astrology as evil or heretical, because it exists beyond the constructs and narratives. And this is also why they tried to make sure that astrology is sidelined or trivialized and not accepted by science, over which the archons have huge influence, especially AI. Yeah. And because the truth of astrology transcends the narratives that they can construct, which is why the wise and the wicked have used astrology to make important choices. And I put here, however, the Kali Yuga has ended, and the uprising in human collective consciousness continues, because we're rising up, yeah, because the yugas, the time sequence is changing, with the consciousness is rising, so they have to try and stop it. The consciousness continues. They're running out of time, hence their panic and wanting to go to ultimate extremes to control humanity. The war in Iran is a fight for the destiny of humanity, and all their lies. I think I'll finish off. I think I was supposed to be crumbling. Oh, gosh, that was quite a lot, wasn't it? Anyway, just to finish off, so who's this thing, yeah, that they potentially want to bring back? The Anunnaki, there were two main gods, many of them, and I can't remember, but one was called Enlil and one was called Enki. Enki loved humanity, and basically it was like a biological experiment, and this is why we suddenly leapt forward 200,000 years ago. Too long to explain, and I've already reached the hour. But you had Enlil, who just saw humanity as servants to be used. Yeah, they said the Anunnaki came from a planet called Nibiru, and it was basically freezing, and they needed to disperse gold firmaments in the atmosphere to help it hold more heat. Yeah, it's supposed to have this 3,600-year orbit or loose change or something like that around the sun. Anyway, they needed miners to do the work. It was the Anunnaki at first that did it, but they were the lower grades. And then what they were like, got sick and tired. They revolted, apparently, according to legend. And then what they did was they looked at the human beings that were there on the planet, combined them with their DNA and got them to do the work. So on and so forth. All went on to reproduce. The Anunnaki intermingled even more with humanity. And you got all of these different races and strands and creeds and lineages and royalty and stuff. Enlil hated all of that and is said to have brought the deluge, which we now know as what? Noah's flood. That story was first written in the Epic of Gilgamesh. And in the Epic of Gilgamesh, which is really, really old, which predates the Bible, remember all the Greek stuff, it was already an old story even then. So think about it. Enlil was said to have hated humanity, didn't believe in it, wanted to destroy it at every cost, brought the deluge to try and exterminate humanity, was very pissed off when they saw that humanity survived, yeah, in the ark, what have you, and has been an enemy of humanity since the beginning. And he was known for his dictatorial control, psychopathy, and just wanting to extract efficiency and basically profit out of human beings. What does that replicate today? When we look at the world and then we see what's going on. And it just got me thinking, I'm like, maybe what they're who they're trying to bring back is Enlil. Maybe what this is what it's all about. Why else would they behave the way that they're behaving? It's so what? Anti-human. And I think this is what this fight is about. And I know that was a long-winded way of getting there. And thank you for those of you who stayed with me. I hope you found that interesting. But I think I've made my point now in a long-winded kind of way. But anyway, so Bunny Young says, my stepdaughter is a teacher at United Arab Emirates. USA ain't coming to help people get out. Flying is kind of dangerous and pricey. So bomb shelters for now. Yeah, exactly. No one can leave. Yeah. Who does this? Yeah. They've stranded their own citizens there. Oh, let's just see. Grey Matter said, a president who hates his country and doing everything to red rum, yeah, and plunder for his friends. Absolutely. But who are they serving? Oh, wow. Look at this. Dawn says, hi from Queensland, Australia, where it's flooding and another big wet weather event. Love tapping into your channel, Hergov. Love listening to you on the soapbox. Crazy wackadoodle times, people. Yeah, and they want it to become more extreme. This is why, think about it. We all know that. Why is nothing being done? We can all see it in our lifetimes. And yes, some people go, oh, it's all made up. It's not made up. Look, I'm old enough now to remember what the weather was like when I was a kid. I'm sure you guys watching know what the weather was like when you were a kid. Is it the same? Not even close, is it? Not even close. Climate change is a part of Earth's Gaia's cycle. This is absolutely true, but it's not supposed to happen in a human lifetime, which is short. Yeah, no, not that quick. It's supposed to, you know, happen over time. In fact, what they said with the younger dryas, in fact, when that cold period came in, they said it took 3 to 100 years. That is lightning fast. Yeah. But that in the scheme of Gaia is lightning quick. That's like a bullet going off. Someone says here, Lottie says, gosh, Hoagie, talking my language, I can do agree with what you're saying. Help, bless. And then, oh, is he golfing today? Awesomeness says golfing today. Is that you or is it Duck L'Orange? Terry says, hi, Hoga, finally caught you live. Bless you, brother. Me and my rants. And then someone said, yeah, I think he was golfing today. Oh, he's probably glad for that. Oh, he's probably got plasters over all of his scabby neck, hasn't he? Awesomeness. Is that what that ancient orange dumpy pants is still walking around? And then, oh, someone says here, Dennis says, the age of Aquarius is about truth and equality, which the wealthy are losing their power over governments, and they are trying everything they can to keep control, but it won't work for them. Indeed. And then what is that? Isn't that what Monsters Inc. was about? Collecting kids' screams and fears. Oh, yeah, it was, wasn't it? Yeah, it's something similar. Honestly, fact, you know, life and fiction and all that kind of stuff. Look at this. Someone says, Donna says, an ancient library will be discovered under the Sphinx. Yeah, I'm pretty certain there's stuff like that. Absolutely. And then Dennis says, we all made it this far. The universe didn't bring us here so a bunch of morons can destroy us. Indeed, because we're what? We're all divine beings, yeah? And then someone said here, Purple, is it like a pyramid or burial ground? No, it's like... it's a place of like elevation, worship, kingdom, town, everything all combined, yeah? And then someone's saying here, Persia. Yes, of course. And then here we are. Donna says, an ancient pyramid once existed in Iran and the energy still exists there. Yeah, absolutely. And then Lottie says, in fact, that's part of the reason for the Iraq invasions, to steal some artifacts. Absolutely, but very, very special ones, powerful ones. Yes, that was it. And Zina says, Gilgamesh seeks, yeah, Unapishitim. Yeah, I think it was, yeah. The only human granted immortality by the gods after surviving the great flood, similar to the story of Noah. There you go. Absolutely. And then someone says here, Rossi says, ancient stargates will open after humanity ascends. And we're in that point now. So you see, they have to act now to try and put it down their way. But I don't think they're going to make it. Yeah. So what I'm going to close up and say is this. Oh, God, look at the time. Keep love in your heart. Love your family, pets, yourself, your friends. Make food. Take a break from time to time and laugh in the face of their ridiculousness, because they're evil and they won't win. Anyway, I will leave it there, folks. Bye-bye for now. Mwah! Big love. Cheers.